My life felt perfect. I had a beautiful home, a loving husband named Mark, and Sophia, my best friend since childhood. My family's inheritance meant we lived comfortably, free from financial worries. I valued my peace and the trust I shared with them. I thought I had everything I could ever want. One morning, I mentioned a dinner party we had planned for Friday. Mark looked at me with a concerned frown. "Eleanor, we talked about this," he said softly. "It's Saturday. You wrote it in your planner." I checked. It was indeed Saturday. A small tremor went through me. I felt confused but brushed it off as a simple mistake. Later that week, Sophia called. "Remember that story I told you about my new client?" she asked. I paused, trying to recall. Nothing came to mind. "The one from last Tuesday," she prompted. I felt a flush of embarrassment. "Oh, yes, of course," I lied. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Why couldn't I remember? These small moments started to add up. I prided myself on my sharp mind, but now I felt a creeping sense of doubt. Was I becoming forgetful? My confidence wavered. I started second-guessing myself, even on simple things. The unease grew, a quiet whisper suggesting something was wrong with me. Mark noticed my worry. "Eleanor, darling," he said gently, "perhaps you're just stressed. Maybe we should see someone, a specialist, someone who can help with your forgetfulness." He suggested Dr. Albright, a name I didn't recognize. He made it sound like a good idea, a way to help me, but I felt a subtle shift, a quiet pulling away from my usual contacts. Despite my growing self-doubt, my intellect still fought back. I started noticing things. The memory lapses often happened when Mark and Sophia were together, or right after they had spoken. Their stories, while seemingly separate, had a strange, perfect timing. A tiny seed of suspicion, cold and sharp, began to sprout in my mind. Dr. Albright's office was calming. She spoke softly, her eyes kind. She asked about my childhood, my stress levels, my memories. I tried to be honest, but I felt a strange sense of being observed, judged. She nodded, scribbling notes. When I left, I felt no clearer, only more confused, as if her empathy was a mirror reflecting my own doubts back at me. That night, I started a small, secret journal. I wrote down every incident, every strange conversation, every moment I felt confused. I needed to see the patterns, to hold onto my own truth. It felt like I was building a fortress around my memories, protecting them from the subtle attacks that chipped away at my sanity. A few days later, I heard hushed voices from the study, Mark and Sophia. "She almost remembered," Sophia whispered, her voice tight. Mark replied, "We need to be more careful. Dr. Albright is on our side." My blood rang cold. The words hung in the air, chilling me to the bone. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was a plan. My world tilted. The people I trusted most, my husband and my best friend, were doing this to me. The realization hit me like a physical blow. The confusion, the doubt, the doctor's visits, it was all deliberate. My heart ached with betrayal, but beneath it, a fierce resolve ignited. They wanted to erase me, but I would fight back. I would uncover their truth. After hearing Mark and Sophia, my resolve hardened. I started small, keeping my secret journal close. I began writing down more than just their strange comments. I noted details of my day, facts I knew, and even solved complex puzzles in my head, just to prove to myself that my mind was still sharp. It was a silent battle, fought within the pages of a small notebook. I felt a quiet strength growing inside me, a determination to outsmart them. One afternoon, I saw Mark quickly tuck something into his jacket pocket as Sophia left. A small, folded piece of paper. His movements were too quick, too furtive. My stomach twisted. It was a fleeting moment, but it confirmed my suspicion. He was hiding something, and it involved her. The feeling of betrayal was a cold, constant ache, but it fueled my need to know the truth. Later, I found it. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard in Mark's study was a small, leather-bound journal. It wasn't his usual one. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, their names, Mark and Sophia, were intertwined with dates and secret messages, intimate words. Proof, undeniable proof of their affair. My world shattered and then reformed, sharper, colder. This was not just about my mind, it was about their cruel deception. The journal also hinted at money. I remembered Mark's recent, unusual interest in my family trust. I searched his office again, this time for financial papers. Tucked away in a locked drawer, I found documents, guardianship papers. My name was on them, listed as incapacitated. They were planning to seize my inheritance, my entire life savings. The words blurred, but their meaning was brutally clear. They weren't just betraying me, they were trying to erase me completely. I tried to call my cousin, Sarah, my last hope. "Sarah, something is wrong," I whispered, my voice tight. "Mark and Sophia, they're plotting against me." Her voice was hesitant. "Eleanor, Mark told me you've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you should rest." Her words cut deep. They had already poisoned the well. There was no one left to trust, no one who would believe me. I felt utterly alone, trapped. The next day, Mark and Sophia staged it. They argued loudly, accusing me of imagined slights, twisting my words. I felt a rising panic, a sense of being cornered. Suddenly, Mark called a number. "She's having another episode," he said, his voice laced with false concern. Two men in white coats arrived shortly after. I was calm, but they saw only what Mark and Sophia wanted them to see. I was taken away, my protests unheard, my freedom stolen. Inside the institution, the sterile white walls felt like a tomb. I maintained a quiet compliance, observing everything. The nurses, the doctors, the other patients. I listened to their routines, their schedules, the way they spoke. I was not broken. I was a prisoner, yes, but my mind was clearer than ever. I watched, I learned, and I waited. My revenge would begin here. I noticed patterns. The night shift was less vigilant. The security cameras had blind spots in the garden. Dr. Evans, a younger therapist, seemed genuinely empathetic, unlike Dr. Albright. I started to tailor my responses, subtly testing the boundaries, looking for a crack in their system. My intelligence, once a source of pride, now became my most potent weapon. I was a chess player, and this institution was my board. During a supervised art therapy session, I managed to slip a small, coded note into a book that was being returned to the public library. It was addressed to David, my former law professor, a man of integrity and sharp intellect. I hoped he would understand my hidden plea, my desperate call for help. It was a long shot, but it was my only shot at reaching the outside world. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a tiny spark of hope in the darkness. Every night, I mentally rehearsed my defense. I built a meticulous timeline of their deception, from the first memory lapse to the guardianship papers. I imagined my words, my evidence, my calm, unwavering truth. I would expose Mark and Sophia, not just for what they did, but for who they truly were. I might be trapped within these walls, but my mind was free, and my plan was solidifying. They thought they had silenced me, but they had only given me time to prepare for my ultimate comeback. The coded note reached David. I felt a surge of relief when a new lawyer, a kind but sharp woman named Ms. Davies, visited me. She was independent and ethical, just as I had hoped. I explained everything, every detail of Mark and Sophia's plot. She listened with quiet intensity, her eyes reflecting understanding, not doubt. For the first time in months, I felt a true glimmer of hope, a real chance at freedom. Ms. Davies became my lifeline. We met often, discussing my evidence, building my case. I shared my secret journal, the financial documents, and the details of Mark and Sophia's affair. She was meticulous, asking precise questions, helping me organize my thoughts. My mind, which they tried to declare broken, was now my most powerful tool. I felt a growing strength, a quiet confidence that my truth would finally be heard. The day of the competency hearing arrived. I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. This was it, the moment I had fought for. My freedom, my sanity, my entire life was on the line. I walked into the courtroom, holding my head high. Mark and Sophia were there, their faces a mask of false concern. I met their gaze, and for the first time I felt no fear, only a cold, hard resolve. I took the stand. My voice was calm, clear, and steady. I spoke of the small memory lapses, the growing doubt, and the chilling realization of their conspiracy. I presented my meticulously kept journal, filled with dates, conversations, and my observations. The courtroom was silent as I laid bare their subtle manipulations. I felt a deep sense of vindication, finally speaking my truth after so long. Then came the affair. Ms. Davies presented the hidden journal, the intimate messages between Mark and Sophia. The air in the courtroom shifted. Mark's face paled, and Sophia looked away, her composure cracking. The judge listened intently. My heart ached, not for them, but for the naive woman I once was, who had trusted them so completely. Their betrayal was now undeniable, exposed for all to see. The financial conspiracy was next. Ms. Davies detailed the guardianship papers, the attempts to seize my inheritance and life savings. The documents I had found, hidden in Mark's study, were projected for everyone to see. The motive was clear: greed. Mark and Sophia's carefully constructed facade began to crumble under the weight of the evidence. I watched them, feeling a cold satisfaction, knowing their calculated plot was failing. Mark and Sophia were cross-examined. Their lies, once so convincing, now sounded hollow and desperate. Ms. Davies expertly poked holes in their stories, exposing their inconsistencies. They tried to blame me, to paint me as unstable, but their words lacked conviction. I saw the fear in their eyes as their carefully woven web of deceit unraveled, thread by painful thread. They were losing control, and I was regaining mine. Even Dr. Albright, their expert witness, faltered. Ms. Davies presented evidence of her financial ties to Mark, revealing her biased affiliation. The doctor's testimony, once so damaging, was now seen as a tool of their deception. The court saw the manipulation, the deliberate attempt to discredit me. I felt a quiet triumph as their last line of defense collapsed. They had tried to steal my mind, but I had reclaimed my truth. The judge's voice was firm. He declared me mentally competent, overturning the guardianship. Mark and Sophia's fraud was exposed. The court ordered an investigation into their actions, paving the way for my lawsuit against them for fraud, conspiracy, and emotional distress. I felt a profound sense of relief, a weight lifted from my shoulders. My freedom was restored, and their downfall was now certain. I walked out of the courtroom, a free woman. Mark and Sophia would face justice, their reputations ruined, their futures bleak. They had tried to erase me, to steal my identity and my legacy, but I had fought back and won. I reclaimed my life, my substantial inheritance, and my peace of mind. The cost was high, but the satisfaction of knowing I had the last word, the ultimate triumph, was immeasurable. They had underestimated me, and that was their fatal mistake.